Good morning. On this, the morning of the third Sunday of the Advent season. Advent is always a season that is very special to me, especially because of its symbolism, because of its image of light coming into our world to scatter the darkness. I find that a very powerful symbol, especially in a world that so often feels lost and unsure of itself. Sue and I were walking on the beach this morning. It was a very windy morning, and as often happens in December, the light was very ethereal, almost fleeting. And to me, that just speaks so powerfully of the light that is Jesus coming in to scatter the darkness that our world so often faces. My wife got addicted to a programme last year, and she used to watch it on a Saturday evening. And the programme, its first appearance actually happened in South Korea, and from South Korea it spread all over the world and to us in the UK. The Masked Singer was the title of the programme, where celebrities were dressed in outlandish costumes, often or always masked. And panellists of celebrities would try to guess who this singer was. And there'll be clues interspersed throughout the programme to try and get the celebrity panels and the audience to guess who the hidden figure was. Today, we think of John the Baptist. John the Baptist is one of the key figures of the Advent season, because he is a pointer to the coming Messiah, the coming Saviour that we welcome as the Christ child on Christmas Day. Now, John didn't have to face a celebrity panel, but he was often asked, "Who are you? Who are you?" And many people, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, many people made assumptions of who he was. Was he a prophet like Elijah? Was he a saviour, the coming Messiah? John, in his own life, assured them that no, he was not a prophet, that he was not the coming Messiah, but he was a pointer, somebody who was telling them to look that the coming Saviour was coming into the world, and they need to prepare their lives and watch for the clues of his coming, as the celebrities watched the clues to try and guess who the masked singer was. The problem was, the Jewish leaders of John's day didn't guess the clues and didn't come to the right assumptions, because they were expecting a Messiah to come who would crush the Roman army and liberate them, who would lead the armies against the dreaded Roman oppression. And of course, Jesus as the Messiah was almost a direct opposite of that particular image. And in a way, the Jewish people didn't recognize, and neither did John, until the moment that Jesus was baptized in the River Jordan. John, of course, had been preaching in the wilderness, a physical one, that is the desert, and a spiritual one, where faith in the God of love had been sidelined. And so John was trying to bring that faith in the God of love back into the centre of people's lives, so that they would be ready, their hearts would be ready for the coming of Jesus. The two commandments, the great commandments, to love God and to love your neighbour as yourself. People had almost forgotten those two commandments. And John was there to refocus their attention, to bring their sight back and to focus on just who this coming Messiah would be, a Messiah that would change people's lives, a Messiah that would transform how people saw God. And that's the wonder of the Advent season and the Christmas season, because it focuses our own attention on who Jesus is for each one of us. It's so easy in our world to point the finger at the Jewish people and say, well, you didn't recognize the coming of the Messiah. And yet do we recognise his coming in our own lives? When you look at all the surrounding hoo-ha that surrounds Christmas, so often it's very hard to recognise the coming of the child of Bethlehem. A child that grew up to be a saviour, who brought hope to the marginalised, who brought light to those in darkness, who offered the hope of new life and new faith, who came to be alongside those who were seen as beyond the pale in society, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, the lepers, people who others didn't want to mix with, those who were exiled because of their conditions or appearance, those who are lost in society. Advent asks us, who is Jesus to you? What is your image of Jesus? As a child in a stable surrounded by shepherds and wise men, a lovely Christmas fairy tale that's forgotten by the time we reach Epiphany? Or as somebody who was real, who was God made man, who brought a living hope into the world, that nobody was beyond God's love, that we are all precious children of God, and we are all worthy of respect and dignity. One of my favourite playwrights is Tennessee Williams. I love Tennessee Williams because of the creation of wonderful characters in the plays. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, A Streetcar Named Desire. All these wonderful plays with vivid characters, often of people who are lost and lone in the southern society of the United States. But one of the plays that I often think about at this time of year is a play that's often forgotten by Tennessee Williams called The Mutilated. And The Mutilated is set in New Orleans. It's one of the reasons why I like the plays, because Sue and I went to New Orleans a few years ago and had a wonderful time in the French Quarter there, just wandering around and savouring the atmosphere. But the New Orleans that Tennessee Williams paints is not one of a touristy fairy tale image of what the city is like, with its wonderful jazz. The picture Tennessee Williams paints of New Orleans is a city of lost people, a city of people on the edge, a city of people who feel they have no hope in life. And in The Mutilated, the play focuses on two characters. Celeste. Now Celeste's a prostitute who has lost complete hope in love. She's a lonely figure who haunts the side streets and bars. Somebody who is dependent on alcohol. Somebody perhaps who is a wreck of a human being. And the other person it focuses on is a person called Trinket. And Trinket is almost the direct opposite in many ways of Celeste. She's a lady with money. She's lived most of her life in this hotel where she rents rooms. And yet, despite her money, she also is a lady who is lost in life, who has complete low self-image. She's had cancer, and because of that cancer, she's had a mastectomy and lost one of her breasts. And she feels mutilated, the mutilated of the title of the play. She feels nobody can love her because of this mutilation. She's embarrassed and ashamed. And so she lives a loveless life, almost locked in this hotel room. And as life would have it, the paths of Celeste and Trinket cross. And these two dispossessed souls, these two souls who are marginalised in different ways, come to know each other and develop a friendship and find acceptance in each other until there's an argument and the friendship breaks apart and each of the two people are left even more lost and alone. Celeste turns to drink and starts haunting the hotel, trying to get Trinket's attention, as she falls lower and lower. Trinket herself becomes even more obsessed by her mutilation, and eventually she finds solace in bars. And on one particular night, Christmas Eve, she picks up a sailor and brings him back to her room. And there all her self-loathing, all her low image of herself, comes to an emotional head as she literally breaks apart. Will these two characters find hope, the hope of the Christmas message? Will they find accepting each other again? You have to read the play to find out. But what I find so powerful, that in this almost lost world, there is still that glimmer of hope and acceptance. The hope and acceptance that Jesus came to bring to lost people such as Celeste and Trinket. That they are loved, that they are accepted, that they are of worth, that they are God's child. And the Saviour came to bring the good news to people such as those. So as we reach the halfway point in the Advent season, as our attention focuses more and more on Christmas Day in a fortnight, what is our image of the Saviour? Is it almost like a fairy tale image of a baby in a stable, an image that is locked away come Epiphany until the next year? Or is the image have more depth than that, of Jesus as God made man, a real person who came to bring hope and new life to our lost world with its lost people? To bring the good news that we are loved, we are accepted, we are God's children. The Advent season shouts out, "Who are you, Jesus?" The Advent season shouts out, "Who is Jesus?" to each one of us. A man, the Son of God, who came to bring